It's a little exhausting, right? Rehashing the same old saying, is Tennessee so and so, name the sport, cursed? Or did they just crack under pressure? Or were the teams just overhyped in the regular season? And were the calls really that bad? Ball fans will say, no, 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 yes. But if you look at the last couple of seasons, maybe there's some truth to it. I'm Paige Dower, and this is the Field Pass. Though I think cracking under pressure, it's a fair thing to say, but it might not be a favorable thing to hear. But the reality of it is that it is harsh, right? If you don't have a ton of recent success in a tight time frame, it is hard to build postseason success. Oftentimes what you'll find in these programs that are just eager to be in the postseason is that the second they're losing the lead or they're losing a bit of momentum, they have the classic case of overcorrection. And oftentimes that overcorrection and losing concentration for a split second can kind of snowball into other innings, and it kind of wrecks the rest of the game. I think a simple example is if you overcorrect your golf swing and now you're in the rough instead of on the fairway, right? It hasn't happened to me. I couldn't even hit the golf ball when I was younger. But that's something that Tennessee, they're trying to get out of that right now. You know, you look at 2022, they had the 23-game win streak. They won the SEC tournament title, but then choked to Notre Dame in the Super Regionals. 2023, they lose their first game in Hoover. They get bounced immediately by Texas A&M, but they make it to Omaha. Then in 2024, you're starting to kind of see that experience kind of accumulate and lead to the success that they have now, you know, leading the nation in home runs. Christian Moore, the SEC Triple Crown winner, SEC regular season and tournament title winners. It's that foundation of the experience from the last couple of years that's allowing them to get to this point, because Tennessee's had its fair share of adversity. It's had ugly innings. It's had ugly at-bats. It's had ugly games, but they've been able to overcome that. You look to the SEC tournament where they kind of, after a game that they would like to forget against Vanderbilt, kind of put on a clinic, right? Pitcher Xander Seacrest, who in his last two starts pitched 6 innings, which he's only done one other time this season, and it came against Georgia. Now for the lefty, his last few outings have been strong, and Coach Tony Vitello says a lot of it actually has to come down to his conviction.
Back to the tournament philosophy, we didn't want to gas anybody out, so we felt it was good to get him out when we did, kind of at the pitch count we had thought about. But really, I think him being himself, he keeps getting better every day that he's been on our campus, and then he's been throwing the ball with conviction.
And if you watched the SEC tournament, it was quite obvious that Tennessee was using as many arms as they could throughout the tournament. And it's actually trickling down to their other pitchers to have that type of conviction and belief and confidence in yourself that's allowed them to be much more reliable when they're coming in a jam, like Aaron Combs does time in and time out. And it's actually a formula that Tony Vitello is hoping they can use in their World Series run.
Last week it certainly was a long week. And we had a lot of innings to play, but we used positionally the bench a little bit. And then pitching-wise, I thought we spread things out kind of how we would on a normal week. If anything, some guys were a little shorter or a little less work than normal. So I think it's just the start of a new weekend, and it's certainly the start of a new tournament, which can kind of feel like a new season. So what happened in the regular season is great, but it's over with.
And then for the offense, it's had a different look the last few weeks, and it's kind of now turning into a consistent lineup for this team. Kavares Tears, moving from the cleanup to the 6th spot is maybe one of the more notable changes, as he's really been able to thrive in that spot for Tennessee. And I asked Vitello, is that going to be the winning recipe for the next few weeks? And he said that he really does like the way that lineup and the order that he has, he really likes how it's shaping up right now.
It's been a busy week. We haven't got to that spot yet, but I would suspect that, we've kind of talked about this team. The unique nature of it is they've had success, but we've kind of had this Rubik's Cube deal going with our bullpen, kind of with our starting rotation for a while there. That's settled down. But what we would do in a Game 4 situation or even Game 5 situation has evolved, and the lineup has too. And I think it's relatively fluid, but I think we've kind of settled into who our guys need to be and how the guys will come off the bench in certain situations.
Now, Tennessee's road to Omaha, it officially begins tonight at 7 when they take on Northern Kentucky, who's actually making its first Division I NCAA tournament appearance, as the university and its athletic programs all of it didn't make the transition to the Division I level till about that 2016 time. So in the Horizon League, they are that conference champion, so they get the automatic bid into the NCAA tournament, and they're going to face Tennessee, but it's not their first SEC opponent that they'll face this season. They played against Georgia and Missouri, kind of in back-to-back SEC weekends, and against the Bulldogs, they did get swept, but in 2 of those games, it was a 1-score decision, and then against Missouri, they were able to get 2 wins over the Tigers. But the Tigers did finish below 500, and actually one of the games, let me double check the score. It was actually kind of a crazy score. Gave me a little bit of Tennessee vibes. Yeah, against Missouri, NKU lost 28-10 in game 2, and then NKU ended up coming back in game 3 to win 16-15. So they do have some heavy hitters on their team, and it kind of goes into Tony Vitello's message that they are a very scrappy team.
On offense, very aggressive. Not just at the plate, but on the bases. And then we'll see a right-handed pitcher, Gillis, that had an outstanding year for him. And he's older. He's been there, done that. So with that experience, I'm sure he knows what to expect and how to handle it with what comes with a regional.
So we started the show talking about curses. Why not finish the show talking about curses? As Tennessee is the national #1 overall seed, which comes with its own level of difficulty. And he kind of talked about in a media availability about if it is a curse and what that curse looks like being the #1 seed.
I just don't think there's a label there, but there's a lot of reasons why it doesn't have greater value than any of the other 8 seeds. You know, to be in the top 8 seed, you certainly meet a criteria that's unique. Really, to be in the top 16 is kind of a goal of everybody. It's so fun to play this weekend at home, but it doesn't mean that road teams can't and won't win. I can promise you this, we did not inherit the 64th best team in the tournament. So after our game on Friday, there's no reseeding that goes on. So there's certainly a limited amount of value that comes with that.
It's also been a minute since I feel like I've been in the studio by myself doing a show, and in that time, and I hope you all have noticed, especially if you guys are kind of a recurring audience, which I hope you guys are the picture frames that I put up. So I hung the picture frames myself, and I hope it's not obvious, so be nice. And I actually took the pictures too. So if you're a subscriber, I would really love to know your thoughts. And if you think that they look good in the space, but please be nice because I did put them up by myself. It wasn't easy either, which might go into my skill set. And we all know that the SEC spring meetings can be kind of boring because the coaches are telling all of us a bunch of nothing. And a lot of that's not their fault, but it is a reality of the SEC spring meetings. But if you're kind of wanting to know the highlights of what was said, go back to our last episode with Jimmy Himes, who's actually in Destin, Florida, and did a really good job of breaking down kind of what the revenue sharing will look like, how it impacts Title IX. It's really worth your all's listen. Now, I might be back Sunday in the late evening for a post-game recap from the Knoxville Regionals. I won't be here at our normal Sunday time, but I will chat with you all on Sunday. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe.